So Phil, it'll actually be fun tonight to talk about some American gangsters who
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 aren't up for re-election?
yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Sorry to step on your punchline,
Scott.
Scott.
No, I couldn't get it out, but I'm sick of seeing them on TV every night. So let's.
And you know, like, listen, if there's one thing that's for sure in this world, it's that Trump has seen Goodfellas 40 times.
Yeah.
He might be the only person who's seen it more than I have.
Yeah, guaranteed. In fact, I think I even saw somewhere he was talking, like he mentioned it or something, and you almost wonder if De Niro has got, particularly gets under his skin in those few times he went after Trump for that reason. I mean, he must love a lot. I imagine he loves a lot of De Niro Scorsese movies. So to have someone like De Niro come after him is just a blow to his ego, if anything, would be,
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, and it even, 1990, that's sort of, I guess, at least one apex of Trump's fame, although maybe by that point he was already in bankruptcy. I don't know, but that's the time frame that he first becomes prominent, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking a couple years earlier than that, but I mean,
right. I'm just sort of like a 5-year window. Yeah, it's
okay.
87 or so when he starts to get noticed.
No, that makes sense. And obviously, I mean, I'd be curious to know if Trump has ever met Scorsese and De Niro.
I have to believe, absolutely.
New York social life, they must.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. Go back before all the craziness when he was just this guy. I mean, when I went to New York, I'm pretty sure, I know I went to the New York Museum, like literally the museum for the city. And maybe this has come up in one of our other conversations, but they had a New York Hall of Fame, which had like 50 or 100 people. And, Scorsese was in it, and Woody Allen and whatever, all these famous people, Babe Ruth. And I know Trump was in it too. So
okay.
I'm almost positive, right?
Okay. So, obviously Goodfellas, not a surprise on your list. It's well known for its use of music, as other Scorsese movies, and you've still got at least one. I think you've still got at least two others coming up, which will also not likely be a surprise. But you went with Sunshine of Your Love, which is a pivotal scene, I think. And I don't know if you want to talk, I'm sure you want to talk a little bit about that scene, but maybe some of the other uses of music in the movie as well. I feel we could go on for a long time about it.
Right.
But the only thing I will say about Goodfellas with myself personally is it's one of the rare movies that I actually cut myself off of for a while. I felt like I was actually watching it I watched it one too many times. It was same with Taxi Driver, actually. Those two movies in particular, at a certain point, maybe about 10, 15 years ago, I thought I got to sort of shut these things off for a while because I think I did start to get a little tired of Goodfellas maybe the last time I watched it. But I love the movie. I mean, I think it's a brilliant movie, but I think I just maybe watched it one too many times. But the music stuff, I could just watch those scenes over and over again. They're so good. So anyway, over to you if you want to talk about Sunshine of Your Love or the music generally.
Sure. Well, first of all, I absolutely agree with you. I was thinking it's one of 3 films that are at the top of my list for, I can hardly look at them now. And one would be Goodfellas. Second would be Raging Bull. And the third one is The Godfather. And 2 of them, The Godfather and Goodfellas, one of the things is that they just play constantly on TV.
Yeah.
So, I stop on them. It's not like I've been taking out the films themselves. I would occasionally catch theatrical screenings, but I'm just forever stopping on them on TV. But I just had to stop. Raging Bull doesn't play TV as much, but I have the same problem with that. So I haven't watched it start to finish probably in 10 to 15 years at least. There may have been a theatrical screening in there somewhere. But God, I watched it just so many times before that,
Yeah.
I want to call up, I got on a Google document here.
The piece that you wrote about Scorsese? Or?
No, I made a list. I went through the soundtrack, and just to follow up on what you said, I was thinking, I don't think there's another film that has as many famous music scenes as Goodfellas. I bolded here. I made a list of all the songs where I can recall exactly what's happening, and I bolded 4 of them, which I think are famous. And Sunshine Your Love I'm not even including that.
Right.
I still think that's sort of a quirky thing.
That's true. It is a little on the
You know,
quirkier, yeah.
if you mention that film to somebody, I don't think that particular scene, which we'll talk about in a second, would be the first thing that comes to mind. I think these are the 4 indisputably famous scenes. Most people would go with "Then He Kissed Me," right?
Yep.
The famous
Yep.
Copa shot. The shot where you know, the camera follows Henry and oh God, it's my first blank out of the
Yeah.
evening. What is
Lorraine Bracco's.
what is her character's name? Henry, and shows you
Geez.
how long it's been since I've seen it.
Yeah. Lorraine Bracco's character, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the most famous, or it would be tied with Atlantis.
Yeah.
You know, in the bar where Pesci pummels Frank Vincent.
Yeah.
That's a famous scene. I think Layla's a famous scene, partly because of the music and just the way, you know, that's that whole sequence where they're discovering all the bodies, and Layla is when they find the 2 bodies in the car.
Right. It was in the meat truck or something, or
Then it switches to the meat truck where they find Carboni, yeah, with hanging up and with all the sides of beef. That's a famous scene. And then the whole collage at the end, the cocaine, you know, which includes Nielsen's jump into the fire, George Harrison's "What Is Life," probably the thing that people most identify with that scene. The Rolling Stones' "Memo from Turner," which I don't even think I'd recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Muddy Waters' "Manish Boy," which is key to that scene, and the Who's "Magic Bus."
And don't they have the Stones' "Monkey Man" in there as well, or is that a slightly different?
Yes, Monkey. Yeah, you know what? Monkey Man, I think, might be in there too. You're right. Yeah.
I know it gets cut up a bit, that scene, I think.
Yeah, that's in there too. And you could, even if you want to, "My Way" at the end is kind of well known too.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's not another film, like even something like Pulp Fiction has "Stuck in the Middle with You" and maybe one other song. Or, you know, even Mean Streets. Mean Streets, maybe for you or I, we could name a whole bunch, but I don't think Mean Streets necessarily has more. It's got the opening and "Maybe Please Mr. Postman." It doesn't have a whole lot of famous music scenes. I think "Goodfellas" stands alone.
Yeah.
Now, you know, in the face of that, I did go with "Sunshine of Your Love," which, man, the first time I saw it, it just made such an impression on me because it's such a strange use of music. It's a scene. It's not even a scene. It's a shot where nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's prefaced by, of course, if you remember, Maury, the wig salesman, who's one of the highlights of the film. Chuck Lowe is the actor's name. That the Lufthansa heist has happened. He kind of set it up to a degree, and he wants his money. And of course, he's a total pest, right? He's a funny guy, but he's a total pest, and he keeps bugging Jimmy for his money. And they're at the bar one night celebrating, and he goes up to him again, asks him for the money, and Jimmy just kind of walks away, I think. And Ray Liotta takes Maury aside, says, "You got to stop. You got to leave him alone. You know, you're driving up the wall." And he gets on Ray Liotta, Henry Hill, and Henry says, "You want to ask him for his money? Go right ahead. You go right now. You ask Jimmy. Tell Jimmy Conway he owes you money." And Chuck Lowe, Maury does this really funny thing. He says, "So, Henry boy, the pipes are calling." and then he says, I think this is almost a nod to The Godfather. He calls him my Mick Guinea friend or something.
Oh, right.
And he walks away and he doesn't bug him. And that's where the song starts, and you cut to Jimmy just standing at the bar. And it's so weird. It's got weird lighting. And you don't know totally what he's looking at. Like, is he looking at those two talking? But he's thinking. And you know what he's thinking, right? He's thinking, how am I going to whack this guy? Yeah. And he's got this, his head's kind of tilted, and he's got this really, at one point, he takes a drag on a cigarette, and he's got a really, almost indescribably sinister look on his face. That really, I think, in terms of the movies, I mentioned this before, that brought Cream kind of back into consciousness, and they've been used a lot since. I Feel Free in The Sopranos. I Feel Free and that David O. Russell film Joy, not used as well. Great in The Sopranos.
Yep.
White Room and Freaks and Geeks. Man, I had 4 or 5, and that's 3 of them. And of course,
Well, and one I know you weren't that impressed by just because of its length, I think, but I did
yeah,
mention to you that I Feel Free was also used in the Michael Jordan documentary.
that's right.
I
Yeah,
found the scene striking. It just was too short. It was like 15 or 20 seconds, I think, of it or something. If
yeah.
that
There
even.
was that. I'd forgotten about that, but now I just remember the one I had forgotten about. That's in the end of the book is Joker, using White Room and Joker.
Ah, okay.
So Cream just suddenly started being in the movies again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the band ever, I don't know if they ever gained any cachet and Pitchfork or whatever, but certainly for soundtracks, they became viable again. And the other thing that was so strange about it, mostly up until that moment, even though it's not true. I tended to focus on the doo-wop and older music in Scorsese films, and that wasn't all there was. I mean, there's like the Rolling Stones, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and Mean
Yeah.
Streets, and Jackson Browne, and Late for the Sky. But in my frame of reference, sort of was the doo-wop and all of that. And
Girl
here's
groups,
this,
girl groups,
yeah,
and
girl groups and doo-wop, girl groups too, yeah. And here's this overplayed classic rock song. Sunshine Your Love, one of 2 Cream songs that would actually get played to death. They're one of those bands like Jefferson Airplane,
mm-hmm.
and I think there's another one that just became their whole discography. I guess you could say that with the Velvet Underground, Sweet Jane, and Rock and Roll became reduced to 2 songs on radio.
Yeah.
So it was an odd choice. It was an odd choice. It just knocked me out.
I remember being struck by that now that you mention it the very first time I saw it. And I remember, for some reason, I vividly remember my first viewing of that movie. I can't say that about every movie I've seen, but maybe it was just so much, I just didn't know what to expect. I hadn't read anything about it or anything. But I remember thinking when Sunshine of Your Love played, wow, that feels different for Scorsese. I'd almost like to see now the chronology of the songs in the movie to see if that is accurate, if it's the first one that kind of is out of that mold of girl group and doo-wop and stuff.
Well, I could check. Yeah, just quickly checking the list that I made here. Which, sorry.
By the way, I remembered, and I didn't look this up. I swear I remembered Lorraine Bracco's character name, Karen.
Karen, of course.
And of course, it makes me think of the whole Karen's phenomenon, right? We don't need
yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's not quite the first, Scott, because Atlantis comes up earlier in the film.
And I probably wasn't familiar with Atlantis. In fact, I wasn't familiar with the song when I would have first seen the movie. So I think I was struck by it. But Sunshine of Your Love, as you say, was just such a memorable, familiar tune. Suddenly, it was a real jolt to see it there. So
yeah. Oh, I knew Atlantis. Did you know it was Donovan at least, or just completely?
I don't know if I even thought of it the first time. I have to say, I just can't. I can't remember my first viewing. I love it now, and I loved it subsequently, but it wasn't one of the ones I probably zeroed in on my first viewing. So,
and I think that's also kind of. I've talked about this. I'd have to check this out, but that may have launched Donovan into the movies again.
Yeah, you've mentioned that actually too.
How much I've written on that. Here's some of the other scenes that I jotted down because I have such vivid memories of how they're used. There's the Cadillac Speedo, which is sort of young Henry Hill and all the, his wide-eyed wonder at all the gangsters. Life is But a Dream by the Harptones, which is Henry and Karen getting married.
Yeah.
It goes slow motion and they have the toast and everything, and it's great. Jerry Vale, Pretend You Don't See Her, which is Henry.
Yeah.
He started cheating, and he says, Friday night was for girlfriends and Saturday night was for the wives, and he's out, and it's slow motion, and it's the perfect song, like Pretend You Don't See Her, Pretend You're Not Married.
Yeah.
Do you remember Walking in the Sand is used?
Yep, love that one. That's when they're the burial, isn't it? Or
I think it's when they're digging him up.
They're digging him up. Yeah. There's a great shot.
It's one of the 2.
The way it's lit is just fantastic.
It's the way it's lit. I think it's when they're digging him up because I remember De Niro saying, "You got to get him out of there," and then it starts. Remember.
And Pesci's really funny in that scene, isn't he? He's cracking jokes.
He's trying to get Ray Liotta to throw up. He goes, "Hey, man, I'm waiting here." Frosty the Snowman.
Oh yeah, he's from the Christmas album, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't know. Actually, I
Well,
don't
okay,
know.
so is Frosty the Snowman, is that the one where one of, I can't remember what character it is, but one of their wives is wearing a, like she walks in, she's wearing a mink. He's like, what are you doing?
That's it. That's
It's,
it.
oh, look at the car I got too. Like,
It's so funny, those two in tandem, because first it's the fur coat and he chews out the guy. Then the next guy walks
yeah.
in, he goes, look at that car, pink
Oh, you
Cadillac.
love this car? Yeah.
Oh, De Niro flips out. I think what you're thinking of is the next one I have is a Christmas song, but it's not from the Spectre album. It's Bells of St. Mary's.
Okay, I could have sworn there was,
You could be right,
well, there is Bells of St. Mary's is on the Phil Spector Christmas
but
album.
this is the Drifters
Different
Bells of
version, yeah.
St. Mary's.
No, but I'm sure there's one other. Maybe it's not that prominent. I think it's one of the maybe Darling Love, not Christmas Baby Please, although I think that might even be in it. Anyway, I'll
I
check.
think that is in it, Scott. That is in it. You're right. I didn't list that one because I don't know. I couldn't quite remember how it was used.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
it
I
was
don't
at the
really
same
remember
party.
it, so.
You're right. But Bells of St. Mary's is when they kill Samuel L. Jackson. Make that coffee to go.
I remember the scene, but I don't remember the use of the music. Yeah, with the coffee. Yeah, I don't
I
remember.
think maybe I'm wrong.
I do remember
associate
the
it.
scene though.
I
Yeah.
could be wrong there. So all of those are just, even though those ones I'm counting as semi-famous, there's so many memorable musical scenes in that film. More, I mean, it's great. It's, in terms
Yeah,
of
I
the
liked.
music.
Although I mean, it ties in with the "Remember Walking in the Sand," but don't they use a very, and it's super brief. You would never put it on a list, but I really liked what he did with "Leader of the Pack," because I think what he does is he just uses the car crash or the motorcycle crash moment from the song, and he punctuates some sort of violent carnage or something in the movie. I'd like to see how he uses that again, but you literally get like 10 seconds of "Leader of the Pack,"
You're
and it's
right.
just a look out, look out, look out
Look out,
part
look
or
out. I
whatever.
just
And
remembered
it's
that.
so brilliant, and I think it's pretty close to the other Shangri-La scene, but I can't remember the details. I have a feeling it's within a 10 to 15 minute time frame, because I think I remember thinking that, oh, that's cool. He used like the two Shangri-La song kind of close together, but I could be wrong. I'd have
Yeah,
to
I'm
check.
trying to, because they have a memorable shot on the look out, look out, look out that I'm just
The
remember.
the other thing that was kind of funny for me was that Nilsson song was another song I was not familiar with before
Same
Goodfellas.
here.
I think even maybe for the first two listens. I mean, this was before you could really, I guess you had to sit to the end of the movie to watch all the credits. And I probably did that the first time, but there were so many to see, I probably didn't catch them all. But I thought for sure that was Joe Jackson. Like I thought, wow, that sounds like, is that from like the second Joe Jackson album or something? And it still sounds that way to me, but it's a
I
great.
think I probably thought, I probably checked a list and I probably thought it was Memo from Turner.
Okay.
Jump in the Fire is the one that has that real echoey sound, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good song, that I kind of
So do
got to
you,
like later. Yeah.
and did Goodfellas the first time you saw it, and you might have actually told, we were corresponding back
Yeah.
then, 'cause you were
You're
in
in
Windsor and
Vancouver,
I was
yeah.
in Vancouver, and you might have said, oh, you definitely have to go see the Scorsese movie. And I was seeing a fair number of movies at that time anyway. But I did go in pretty cold to it, I think. Like I just didn't, I think I had high hopes just because it was a Scorsese movie. But I remember just being utterly astonished at the use of music, because I couldn't believe it. I remember thinking, my God, he's topped Mean Streets here. I don't know now if I still believe he's topped Mean Streets, but at the time, that was my sort of initial takeaway from it. So, what was your first viewing of it like? Do you
Well,
recall?
it's
Or
funny, yeah. No, I have two strong, vivid impressions from that first viewing, and I know I mentioned them, I think, somewhere. First is that I was in Windsor at the time, and just what an ordeal it was to see a
yeah,
film in a mall on the other side of town. It ended up, for a 2-hour film, it ended up being like an 8-hour journey. It was
yeah,
unbelievable. It
yeah.
was unbelievable. I think I probably just slightly missed a bus at both ends, which ended up involving an extra 45 minutes of waiting. I might be exaggerating by 8, probably more like 6 hours, but it was a full day thing.
Wow.
And that kind of put me in a bad mood. So I liked it, but it didn't completely floor me until the second time I saw it. I remember the first time, and I do this a lot. I can see a film, and there were certainly things I loved the first time, but then I tend to dwell on the things, one or two things that I don't like. And one thing I didn't like the first time, one thing, the voiceover, and Scorsese does that. That's almost an automatic now. I didn't take to that initially.
Yeah.
I'm still sort of hit or miss with voiceovers. The scene where Karen pulls the gun on him, remember? He's in
Yep.
bed
You
and
just
they
think it
got
was a
this
bit.
weird
Did you think it
shot.
was a bit cheesy or something, or
I thought it was just weird. It didn't
Okay.
feel right to me. Rags to riches at the beginning didn't totally feel right.
Mm.
So certain things nagged at me. And when I saw the second time, like even the first time, certainly the long Copa shot knocked me out. And then the second time, everything came together, and I didn't worry so much. I probably went back. Yeah, I would have gone back well in Windsor. I wouldn't have waited too long to go back to see it a second time. I don't think I
Mm.
waited till school ended.
Well, and it's a
But
kind of overwhelming movie too, because it's pretty lengthy, and with all the songs, I mean, I don't know how many songs there are, probably 40,
God, the 40 is a
40
good number. I
songs
was
or
just going to
something,
say
right?
that. Yeah.
So would be my
Um,
guess.
and it was the first Scorsese film in a while that I'd
Yeah.
absolutely loved because from Raging Bull to Goodfellas, you're looking at a 10-year window, and I was interested in all his work up till that time. I don't think he didn't make one film, and certainly King of Comedy has gone on to become pantheon for Scorsese. I still don't put it up with the core four, but many people think it's his greatest film now because
Mm.
in part because it's become so predictive of
So
the world we live
predictive.
in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, and that I violently reacted against that the first time, came to love it. Anyway, I liked everything he did during that 10-year window, but there was nothing that hit me like Raging Bull until
Yeah.
Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And after Goodfellas, we could talk for half an hour here too. Just what a bumpy ride it's been. Like
Yeah.
Casino was the next one. Not quite. Cape Fear was next, and that was just horrible, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never even watched it a second time. And then Casino had greatness and then a lot of repetitiveness. And from there, it's just been not great. Except
So,
for the
so,
documentaries.
so, not including his documentaries, which I think
Yeah.
we both liked a number of since. Were there any music? Is Goodfellas is the latest one chronologically that you choose anything from in your book, right? And is there
Yes.
anything that's come after Goodfellas that you felt at least warranted a rewatch or
There,
something?
there, were,
Anything from
there were a couple of
I
things
saw
that could.
Casino once, and I've never gone back to it, and that is a movie I will rewatch again for sure. Like I have a feeling I'll see stuff in there the second time that I forgot and maybe is
Yeah,
good.
I
But
would go back to it. Yeah. I think the one thing that surprised me about Casino and I've watched it probably 3 or 4 times since, is how good De Niro is. I think maybe that's his last great performance.
okay,
I don't know if that comes before or after Heat. I think it might be almost exactly the same time.
yeah, okay,
He's great in it. I think Sharon Stone is pretty great, and there are musical moments. Nothing.
nothing that
Actually, the trailer that used the first part of the Rolling Stones, "Who's That Knocking," was better than how it was used in the film. But since then, no, The Departed, I didn't get anything out of musically.
yeah.
Wow, I can't. Some films I can't even
What was
remember.
the one? Didn't one of his movies, and this is one I didn't see. Though I have a feeling it's not a good movie at all. But I think they used some Clash or something. The Nicolas Cage one
I do. I
about
would
the
just,
ambulance
yeah,
driver.
Bringing Out the Dead.
Right.
There was a Big Brother song that was used, I think, pretty well. Combination of the two. I didn't like. I don't think I liked what they did with the Clash. I think it was Janie Jones, and I think they
Okay.
did some speeded up
Yeah,
gimmicky.
something on
type
the
thing.
from the first album or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
like you go to see
The
a
fact that you'd have to
Irishman, we talk
struggle.
about
Sorry,
what's
what's that?
that
Oh, I was just gonna say the fact that you would have to struggle to think of something
exactly. And
kind of.
then he's had films where he just music don't even enter into it. Certainly, the first one that would come to mind would be the Silence.
Yeah.
It's about monks. Um, and what about Wolf of Wall Street? I can't.
Mm,
There's a big sprawling film, and man, I can't remember a single song from Wolf of Wall Street. Now, either there wasn't much music, or it just made
yeah.
absolutely no impression on me. Did you ever see Wolf of Wall Street?
No, and I'm not, anxious to really because
You should see it.
I
Just
should see it. No, I should. And I'm probably a little more interested initially, at least, in seeing The Irishman. And we've talked about the use of
yeah.
what is
In the
it?
still of the night.
Still of the Night. But you didn't seem like you were that struck by it, anyways.
Not at all. In fact, my heart sank when it came in over the opening credits. And, you know, that should wash over me.
Yeah.
What I thought, is, you know, it's what I wrote in the book. It's like, I understood now why certain people didn't even like Goodfellas, because they sat there, and Kale was one of them,
Yeah.
thinking that the music was divorced from the characters' lives. And my feeling was just, oh, this again, you know?
I'd like to get I'd sort of like Marcus to sort of revisit or reiterate his feelings on
He
Goodfellas. So
doesn't like the he
there was
doesn't like the
something
music
somewhere
either.
where he said he thought it was awful or something.
Actually, I think I took that from Marcus, not Kale, where he's the guy that said this music is not connected to their lives
Mm.
like it was in Mean Streets. Now, you know, the connection to their lives in Mean Streets, it's not like they talked about who did these songs,
Yeah.
etc. You know, it's almost like they were all interchangeable, where David Probel says, only oldies tonight. They were just oldies to them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I understand what he means. You know, they just lived in these bars that played these songs, and they
Right.
played them on the radio. Whereas the gangsters and everybody in Goodfellas, you know, did they have any connection to this music? I don't know. It's
Well,
an
I guess,
interesting point.
yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Hmm.
Um, one segue I could make, I don't know if you have any more to say on
Yeah. No,
Goodfellas, but
I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah.
so one segue between Goodfellas and the other film we're going to talk about tonight, Heart Like a Wheel, is they both got almost exactly the same kind of review from Kale, which was a very kind of respectful review, but she made it clear in both instances she wasn't that crazy about either film.
Hmm.
You know, and she wrote that way about other films, many other films, where it wasn't like, you know, she thought it was bad or anything, and she sort of saw what people saw in it. Like, she gave Goodfellas a much better review. She literally ripped apart Raging Bull.
Yeah, I was
She
getting
just
those
didn't
mixed
like
up
it at all.
actually. I was getting them mixed up when you were saying she was kind of a bit middling or whatever on Goodfellas. I was thinking, didn't she tear it to shreds? But then I realized, no, that was Raging Bull.
It was
She didn't
Raging
like
Bull.
Raging Bull at all, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. It's got the great line where she said, you know, one guy calls one guy a dumb fuck, and the other guy says, you're a dumb fuck. And she says, why am I sitting here listening to these two dumb fucks? Um, no, Goodfellas, she said, you know, it's got a kick, and it gets you, it's whatever, it makes you feel the highs that the characters feel, and said good things about it, but she thought it was missing something very central.
Hmm.
Um, and Heart Like a Wheel, she gave it that's a very different film, a much smaller film, but she gave it this respectful review saying, you know, it was a little bit like the Going Down the Road review, but I think she liked Going Down the Road better. And Art Like a Wheel is another one where I would compare it, say it's like a small American art film of the Truffaut, Father Panchali kind, and it tries to get at the small moments in life. And she recognized that, but you could tell she basically thought it was just kind of boring.
Right, right.
And that is the risk you take with those films. When I was doing the countdown with Stephen Rubio and Jeff Pike, I picked this Italian film called Il Postino, or it's got another title, Sound of Trumpets. And I just love that film. And it's that kind of film. And then Stephen reviewed it on his blog. And, you know, he had that reaction where I can see why someone would like this, but it's just, if you don't connect with those films, they're boring.
Yeah, yeah.
So Heart Like a Wheel, which is about the drag car racer Shirley Muldowney, is like that. It's not a flashy film, even though it's about drag car racing. It's very small. It did get some critical attention, and I think Bonnie Bedelia might have even been up for Best Actress that year. And the filmmaker, as you pointed, I don't know if you said his name, it's Jonathan Kaplan, and
Yep.
I'm guessing the film that you've seen is The Accused.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. That's the Jodie Foster one.
Yeah.
There's sort of an infamous rape scene in that.
There is, yeah, and she won Best Actress for it. I don't remember a thing about it. Didn't make much of an impression on me. He'd done maybe one or two made-for-TV films, which was sort of a training ground for some of those guys. Or I think he definitely made one or two under Roger Corman.
Okay.
He came out of that whole thing like Jonathan Demme and Ronnie Howard. Um, but I just love Heart Like a Wheel. I loved it when I saw it. It's one of those films that, again, I'll admit, a couple times it makes me tear up. Once is in the scene just before the song that I picked, which I'll describe. It came down to 2 songs from that, although I realized there is a third. Early in the film, I think it's one of those films, one of about 3 that uses the Flamingos' I Only Have Eyes for You. Great, uses it in a great, brilliant way, where they dance under the stars.
Wow.
Anyway, the song I picked was, I have to think in my mind because I get the 2 mixed up.
Happy
Together by the Turtles, yeah. Which is the first time, so I'll set it up. The scene before, still pretty early in the film. From the time she's young, she loves fast cars. You know, she rides with her dad, who's played by Hoyt Axton, who wrote Joy to the World, 3 Dog Nights, Joy to the World. And he's got great presence in the film, and she loves sitting in the front seat with her daddy, and he bums around. And then as she becomes a teenager, she'll race local guys, and she does well. And she's married. Her husband gives a great performance. I looked up his name. It's Leo Rossi. You probably recognize him to see him. Character. Okay. He plays Jack, her husband, and she tells him she wants to go and try to hook on to drag racing. Is still pretty small. It's like a local thing, you know. They want to break out nationally. It's sort of probably similar to pro wrestling, you know. It's very regional and specialized, but there's crowds. She wants to join that circuit, and he tries to discourage her, not because he's a bad guy. He just thinks that they're going to, as a woman, that they're basically going to just treat her awful and just tear her apart, you know, and crush her soul. And she sort of abides by it. And finally you get the scene where I think they argue about it. I didn't rewatch the whole film, but then there's a scene with her and him in his garage where he lets her know he's going to support her. Now he's going to build her a car. He says, I'm going to build you a car. And it's got this great moment where he says, I don't want you worrying about anything. I'm going to build the car, look after it. I just want you to do one thing, drive. And you could tell she's so moved by it, and she kind of hugs him. And that's just a great moment. And then it cuts right to the raceway where she's out there to try and basically, I think, meet with the promoters and see if she can get them to give her a test run. Right. And you saw the shot, the way it's done, it's great because the camera starts, I think, on her walking. Does it start? No, it starts on him. Connie Kalita, played by Beau Bridges.
Right. So is he like is he like a more famous?
He's an established star. Established star. Okay. And he's a great actor, you know. I'm sure you've seen the Fabulous Baker Boys, right?
Yeah.
So just to get off, I'll just say it briefly. Everybody talks about Jeff Bridges in that film. I think he gives a great performance because he is a much tougher performance. Jeff Bridges gets to play the sort of James Dean, Marlon Brando, always cool character. Beau Bridges is the really square brother who tries to keep the business going. And he's great.
Familiar. Yeah.
Connie Kalita is very different. He's this womanizing, you know, kind of scoundrelly race driver. So the scene starts with him, and he's got his adoring fans surrounding him, autographs. The Turtles are playing. It's got the great beginning, you know. And the camera follows him. I think the camera starts high, swoops down, follows him walking through the crowd like a magnet. And then as he goes out of view, we see her just standing by her, leaning against her car, smoking, I think, just trying to take it all in. And it's just a great use of music, you know. It captures something about her, how nervous she is, this world she's trying to break into, and it kind of predicts their relationship in a way. As they end up, she doesn't, she's still with her husband, but she definitely becomes involved with him, and he's kind of awful. You know, he's like a scoundrel. He's Bill Clinton, basically. He's cheating on other women, cheating on her husband with other women. I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me. So
so happy together.
That's one of the two great scenes. I picked that one. There's another one later on, the birds turn, turn, turn.
Oh,
That, it's kind of similar to just the way it's shot. And now I'm blanking out on how that's used, but it's got a very similar feel with the camera movement and everything. And those are the three times music is used in the film, but I think it's a great film. I did have some frame of reference the first time I saw it. I had a friend in grade 5, Pat Hutchinson, who was big on drag racing. He
really?
knew, yeah. And Ron Mann made a documentary on these guys. He knew, and I knew because of Pat, Don Garlitz, and I think there were the two Dons. I think they were both Dons, Don Garlitz and Don Prudhomme, the snake and the mongoose, and all that stuff. If you don't know anything about it, this will be all meaningless. And Shirley Muldowney, I even knew her name. I think she was probably the third most famous race car driver at the time.
So it was in the, and I know the movie is 1983, but so her story is based in the 60s, is it? Was she in the
yeah, I think the turtle scene.
Looks like it was in the 60s.
Starts with a title card, such and such raceway, and I think it's 1966 or 1967. Okay. Yeah. So when I was friends with Pat, that's like 73, and she was already a huge star.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think she switched. She started with the drag cars. You know, they go through different. There's funny cars and drag cars, like the big long ones.
Yeah.
She did those for a while, but then there are funny cars, which sort of look more like regular cars, but they got all the numbers and all the stuff painted and probably big tires. So I think she did both of those. I'm not sure if she's still alive. I meant to check that. She wasn't until recently, at least. And she obviously was, at the time, she was kind of right there with Billie Jean King and
wow.
And I don't know who else you'd name from that group, but there were certain female athletes that kind of became feminist icons.
And did you see the movie at the time when it came out? Did you see it?
Right when it came out. I don't know if I imagine I knew who Jonathan Kaplan was. I don't know if it was that got me to see it, or maybe I read a review. I honestly don't know what initially drew me to the film.
Okay.
But I liked it a whole bunch and liked it even more on subsequent viewings. And I'll still watch it every couple of years. It's on YouTube. It's kind of a lousy print, but
yeah, the quality's not great. But.
Yeah, I wish it were better known than it is. It just seems to have completely disappeared.
And so quickly on Jonathan Kaplan, like you mentioned, The Accused, but his filmography is a lot of blank spots to me. I mean, I wasn't quickly on Wikipedia. Is there anything else that he's particularly well known for, do you think, other than The Accused? Or
nope, his career never really panned out. I did check that.
He ended up on Law and Order, on the Law and Order that I kind of like, actually.
Okay.
I think, but that's I don't even know if it's just a season or specific episodes or what it was. So.
He might be the director. He might have made a film called White Line Fever with Jan Michael Vincent in 1975.
I think that sounds familiar. I don't have his list in front of me anymore.
If you can,
I think that is right, actually. Here, I could check it real quick.
Check that quickly. And I think Kale reviewed that too, and I don't think she minded that as much.
Let me tell you really quick, actually. And was Heart Like a Wheel actually, was it a popular film, or?
I don't know if it made money. It certainly didn't cost them anything to make. I mean, Beau Bridges wasn't huge at the time. The rest of the cast, Bonnie Bedelia, probably better known for a Hal Ashby film called The Landlord, or she made a film in '72 called Lovers and Other Strangers, which was kind of a semi-big thing that year. It's totally forgotten now, and I don't imagine it doesn't hold up that well.
Okay, here, Phil, I'm actually going to share my screen.
Yeah, I noticed.
I don't see White Line Fever on there. I see another movie.
Okay. Yeah. So there.
White Orchid. So that's what I was probably thinking.
Those are his Roger Corman films: Night Call Nurses and The Student Teachers.
Right.
Softcore, very softcore photography. Oh, how could I miss that?
White Line Fever's right there. Sorry, it is.
Yeah, he did. But Scott, he's in my the thing at the end twice. He directed Over the Edge.
Where's that?
See, 1979, Over the Edge.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I got that in the back of the book for its use of Cheap Trick Surrender. That's its most famous film, Over the Edge, which has a cult following.
And didn't you say there's, isn't there cover version in that movie of something you pointed out?
Um,
I remember you mentioned it on Facebook. There's a cover of it's a song like I posted or something on Facebook, and then you mentioned that a version. Oh, Ooh Ooh Child or something.
yes,
Isn't there a
yes,
version
you're
of Ooh
right.
Ooh Child in there? I haven't seen it, but
Yeah, it's a cover, and it was a minor hit in the Bronco era.
like a
You're
sort
right.
of LA singer-songwriter type or something, or
Yes.
okay,
Over the Edge is sort of famous. It's a famous cult film.
yeah,
Now, when
okay.
I go down there, I notice, hold on.
There's the
Yeah,
soundtrack.
Valerie Carter. That's it.
Okay, it's got
Yeah.
wow. It's very much in the almost in the Fast Times at Ridgemont High kind of soundtrack a little bit, eh? Like
Yeah, it's
cars,
got, and it comes 5 years or 2 or 3 years
yeah.
earlier than
When it's got a
Ridgemont High.
couple, it's got the Ramones, eh? Wow.
Yeah, I took forever to see it, and I'm glad I did. It's like a lot of cult films. It's probably slightly overrated. It's got just a little bit of crudeness or roughness to it.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the things people love about it. It came out the same year as Breaking Away and didn't get nearly as much attention as Breaking Away.
Okay.
Go back to his discography or his
Yeah.
filmography for a minute.
Yeah.
I noticed at least one other thing I've seen: Unlawful Entry.
That sounds familiar.
That's with Ray Liotta. I'm pretty sure.
Let me see.
You click on that.
Yeah,
Refresh my
Ray
memory.
Liotta, Kurt Russell, Madeline Stowe.
Madeline Stowe, who I used to really like a lot. She's in Altman Shortcuts.
She's in Shortcuts, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So those films all have a certain amount of visibility, and
Okay.
probably, if you look at the box office for Unlawful Entry, I'll bet you it made money.
Number 2 and
Go see it grossed over 10 million.
yeah.
Oh wait, 57 box office brought back, made for 23 million. It made 57 million. So that's a lot of money. I don't know what percentage he got of that, but that'd be enough to set someone up for life.
Yeah.
He didn't really go on and make much after that, though, that's well known. Not that I can see. And I think he's probably one of those guys that, people try to get him to do stuff on TV maybe, and he picks his spots.
So since I'm screen sharing, unless you have something else on the Jonathan Kaplan movie, I did have this up. We should just quickly go down the list maybe, because this is from Popped. Remember
That's
that magazine, Popped?
I do.
That really went places, that one. But
this is kind of, Scott, this is the beginning of the book, really.
yeah, that's probably right, eh? So look, when you look on, we've said this before, and not to blow your horn, but why not? You did this. This would have been like 96 or 97, I think.
Okay, I was thinking 95 for some reason. That's
maybe 95 would be the absolute earliest, I think. I thought I got on the internet around 96, but either or, it's close enough.
I think it's 95 because I did a slightly revamped version of this for Andrew Palmer in Australia, where if Casino's not on this list, and the song I would have chosen would have been whatever they play. Oh, Love is Strange. If Casino's not on there, it tells you that this was done before Casino.
Yeah, it's not on there, so
right.
Okay. But what I was going to say is, you go on Google now, obviously, and look up Scorsese and movies, and I mean that was going to happen, of course, but they're all over the place, right? There's 1,000 different.
Oh, I know. This one doesn't come up. This one doesn't come up. I don't get that.
It's something to do with the rockcriticsarchives.com. I don't know. It just doesn't have the clout, of BuzzFeed or something. But so you've got the Crystals. You put that at number 1 from Goodfellas. Sunshine Love, you have number 2.
So I did have that number 2. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, Be My Baby, Life Is But a Dream. Which
so 3 out of the top 4 is Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Life Is But a Dream is great. I think I overrated that a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jumping Jack Flash, of course.
Yep.
Layla. Drum Boogie, Gene Krupa, Raging Bull.
But you know what? I'm not 100% sure I have the right song. I think I later corrected that. I don't think it is Drum Boogie.
Okay.
It's really weird. It's when De Niro leaves the club in Raging Bull after. Is it after or sorry? Is it De Niro? Yeah, De Niro leaves the club for. Jake has just followed Vicky, watches her pull away. Yeah, I knew it had something to do with Frank Vincent Salvi, and he just steps out into the street, and this weird song's playing in the background. I was trying to get the
Okay.
context correct.
Sort of rings a bell. Raging Bull, it's been quite a while since I've seen that. I think the last time I saw that was with you in a theater, actually. Like, and that was
Wow.
a subsequent viewing, but I don't think I've seen it since then. That was with Rob and oh my God, Rob and Renee.
Robin Renee, we went to see Raging Bull in a theater.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
the only time I'd met him and you guys met me after work, and I think it was playing at one of the repertories, and I met you guys, and I think that's the last time I don't think I've seen Raging Bull since then. So,
Wow, I'd completely forgotten that, Scott.
so Atlantis, number 8.
I know this list is so, you could tell when I did this list, I was probably at the
Pretty in your mind, right?
peak of my infatuation with Goodfellas.
Yeah. Come rain or come shine in the King of.
That's a great thing.
Is that's opening credits, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, opening credits. It's got that chaotic scene as Jerry Lewis tries to leave, and he's inside the
Right.
limousine, and the frame freezes, and it's got that great weird lighting again with
Yeah.
Sandra Bernhardt's got her fists up against the window, I think.
Yeah. Now
Or,
this one I
spread
don't
her hands.
remember at all. I've seen After Hours, but again, that's one I've seen once, and I should watch that again. But I don't remember Robert and Johnny in there at all. But that's
Okay, yeah, that is where, yeah, it's with Terry Garr. It's great. It's great. She's just, he's running, he's on the run, and whatever, he runs into her, and they do this kind of tracking shot in on her. And I just love the song. And probably more influenced by the song.
okay. And then Beyond the Sea and Goodfellas.
Which I didn't even include in that list that I read off earlier. Where Clemenza, so much the scene. Oh, okay, of course, that's where they're making spaghetti sauce in prison. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that's great.
That is great.
Tell me.
It's where Henry's explaining that life for wise guys is different on the inside.
Right, and they're slicing the garlic and all that.
Yeah, slicing the garlic.
Tell Me, which is of course pretty iconic, I think, from Mean Streets.
Yeah, that's with the
little dangerous by today's standards, maybe, but it's great.
And he's talking about her being black, right?
Yeah. And it's great with the Stones. It makes total sense with the Stones, like just in a roundabout kind of way. So no, it's perfect.
Yeah. And I still, the way he says it, he says she's great, she's this, she's that, but she's black. I mean, we all know that.
Yeah.
Like that. Wow.
Yeah, he's got that kind of confessional voice or something. It's Now this one I don't remember at all. Lonely Nights, The Hearts, and Raging Bull. I know that's a doo-wop song. I couldn't identify it for you immediately. If I heard it,
I couldn't tell you how the song goes, but the scene is very vivid in my mind. It's where he is. It's just before he gets arrested when he owns that nightclub, and he's staying out till 6 every morning.
Right.
And they're having drinks, and he's trying to do this thing where he piles all these drinks on top of each other, and they're filling them with champagne.
That's great.
And then at the end, he takes a deep breath and pretends he's about to blow them down. And that's sort of just at that moment. The next morning, the DA comes in and shakes him down, and the next thing you know, he's in prison.
Great. Speedo, of course, which you mentioned. Late for the Sky, which we'll get to.
Which I'll just briefly say I would move that way up on the list.
Okay.
We'll talk about it when we get to Taxi.
Okay. Mickey's Monkey, fantastic in Mean Streets. That's very memorable near the end of the movie. Actually, I think that's one of the only songs that maybe Kale mentions in her review. I don't even know if she.
Does she mention it?
I don't even know if she mentions it by title, but I think she mentions something, him doing a dance around the car near the end or something. Yeah. Like a dance of death or something like that. I seem to recall some line to that effect. Werewolves of London, we've discussed that already.
I just want to say, Mickey's Monkey, that scene is something that, I say Charlie's immobilized, come from somewhere he doesn't understand. And even for someone like me watching, that character, Johnny Boy, in that scene, he lives outside anything I understand. Like they're supposed to, they're in mortal danger at that moment, and he stops and starts doing this robotic dance, and Charlie just stands there looking at him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's great.
Werewolves of London, I'd move quite a bit.
Yeah, and Jerry Vale, you talked about that scene. Shotgun, I think. Well, we're not going to get to that song, but we're getting to that movie, and I'm sure you'll have some stuff to say about it.
Yeah, and you'll notice.
The one
I left off I left off El Watusi, right?
Yeah, it's not on
Yeah,
there.
which is just crazy. I mean, that's unbelievable. That would be, my number would be top 2 or 3 for sure.
Yeah.
We'll talk
And
more about
then
it later.
Bad Brains and After Hours, sort of.
Yeah,
I do sort of remember that actually, but
it's
I don't.
okay.
It's just neat, I guess, that it's there in some ways too, maybe. Right?
Yeah, and you get to see Scorsese, and he's doing this weird thing. He's like, he's working the spotlight. He's going back like this.
Right.
He seems to be
Right.
making fun of hardcore music or something. I
Right.
don't
Right.
think he is, but it's just weird, and it stuck out in my mind.
Okay. And then in this last paragraph, you mentioned a couple of omissions. Excuse me. I almost thought when I got your list, I was going to see Mott the Hoople from Atlas Doesn't Live Here Anymore, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's more just like credit scene or something, right? Like, is it end credits?
it's the opening
Opening
credits.
credits. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's actually sort of played over top of them leaving
Right.
wherever they're leaving, and
Okay.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not a film I care for that much, to be quite honest. It's okay.
Okay.
I should see American Boy again, which uses Time Fades Away.
I think I've seen American Boy. Like, is that Is that one of his
The
documentaries?
documentary, I think it's probably online. It's his 40-minute or however long it is interview with Stephen Prince, who plays the gun dealer in Taxi Driver.
Okay, no, I don't think I have seen that one. Oh, really? So he's got Time Fades Away in there, right? Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Life Lessons. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. I think that uses like a Rolling Stone, right?
Oh yeah, I don't. I've seen that movie, and I've met that. That's a very memorable movie to me.
Kale loved that.
I should see it again. I guess it's the three directors, right? Woody
Yeah.
Allen, Scorsese.
I thought the Woody Allen was funny. If you remember, his mom was up in the sky over New York City.
Right.
All
Right.
about guilt, Jewish guilt, and mothers.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
That was good, actually. And who was the third director? Was it Coppola?
Coppola, and you know what? I liked his, and that was the one that got really lambasted, and I kind of
Really?
liked it at the time. It had a fairy tale aspect to it. I just remember it was about like this young girl, and I don't remember anything about it except it was sort of self-consciously done like a fairy tale, and I thought it was pretty
Okay.
good. I might
Okay.
hate it today. It's been so long. I don't know.
Okay. And then you mentioned The Last Waltz.
Which is parts of The Last Waltz I certainly like, but that's something totally different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
I think I try to. I mean, I came to love those first two band records and stuff, but I just never totally loved The Last Waltz. I like some aspects. I like some of the performances, and there's something kind of weird and different about it. But it's not something I really want to go back to. I don't think.
No, the three things that stand out in my mind are I love Helpless.
Yeah.
Where people say supposedly see cocaine on Neil's.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's true or not. Joni Mitchell, Coyote's pretty good, isn't it?
I don't think she does. I think Coyote she does in the
Okay.
in the
What is
more
she-
recent Scorsese movie. I think.
Right. What is
I
she
think
doing?
in oh God, which one is it? I think it is something from that period. Like I think it is kind of post
And I think it's
Spark song. I think it is something
yeah,
one of those albums. Maybe
something
it is,
sort of sounds like Coyote or the
maybe it
same
is
style.
Coyote. Maybe I forget. I don't know.
And Manish Boy, even though I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of hardcore blues, it's pretty memorable.
Pretty powerful. Yeah.
I got to say, I'm looking at the next thing. Cape Fear, I've so blocked that film out of my mind. They use Patience in that. Been Caught Stealing. I've never liked that song, but I did used to like Patience. Boy, I don't remember that
at all. Wow.
And then I make a Snoop Doggy Dogg joke.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that with the age of it.
Snoop Doggy Dogg this shows you how he probably still called himself Snoop Doggy Dogg at the time.
Yeah. That's probably still pretty early in his career, I think. I mean, but
if it's 95, that's literally he's still on the 94 was his big year, so there you go.
Yeah. Have you ever subsequently seen Boxcar Bertha or New York, New York? You mentioned here that you haven't seen them.
Never watched those a second time. Never watched The Age of Innocence a second time.
Oh, so you have seen them once though, Boxcar Bertha and New York?
I finally. Oh, okay. Sorry. I see. At the time, I hadn't seen them at all. I definitely saw New York, New York. I went to a theatrical screening of that. I still don't think I've seen Boxcar Bertha.
I actually, I at some point, maybe 20 years ago, I think I took that out of some place where I was renting DVDs or something. And honestly, I got to say, I think I made it through about 45 minutes and I just found it too boring. I just made the decision not to even finish it. It just didn't do anything for me, but I've never seen New York, New York either. So
Well, there's a famous story. I don't know who it was that took, I think it was, maybe it was John Milius, the director. I don't know who it was. Someone took Scorsese aside and told him, and I don't know if it was before or after Mean Streets.
Yeah, I think I've heard this.
Yeah,
Say-
either the guy, it was either trying to get him to make Mean Streets or, okay, you've done these two films. And basically the person says, you need to do this kind of film and you can't
Yeah.
ever make this kind of film again.
Yeah, like you do something personal and something that matters, and this isn't that kind of movie. It's, you know, going through the motions kind of thing. So
Exactly. And I think he probably stuck to that until, you know, I think the one film I think of, and it's a fine film, we've talked about it, where he was self-consciously trying to make a hit film, was The Color of Money.
right.
You know, where he had a big actor gunning for an Academy Award, and it was with Disney, and he did a great job of it. But from Mean Streets to there, he's pretty much just making personal films for better or worse.
Yeah. I
Well,
agree. Okay.
I'm so glad, so glad you gave me a chance to do that piece, Scott.
Yeah, I looked it up right before I thought of it last minute, and yeah, I thought you might have had Sunshine of Your Love #1, but I mean it's right up there. So
Yeah. And then he kissed me, you know, that is pretty great. And that film is certainly, or that scene, I should say. And I think I recognized the first time that this is going to be a famous sequence.
and it's other filmmakers have actually almost referenced that, haven't they?
Oh,
Like,
definitely, definitely. I'm sure it must turn up in Boogie Nights. I've seen there's a hip hop video that very specifically is modeled after that. I
oh,
can't
wow.
remember what it is.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find jokey quotations of it and serious
Yeah.
quotations.
Yeah.
It's just that famous.
Okay, great. Well, want to call
Okay.
it
That was great,
a
Scott.
session?
Yep. Take your time, no rush. I think we're on a good timetable here. Just whenever.
Sounds good.
whenever
Yeah.
the mood strikes. I'll keep you posted. Hopefully I can get in.